Right, I'm delighted to tell you we are back on Radio Row, and we're here with, well, an old favourite at this point, Charlie. You are one of us now, whether you like it or not.
Absolutely.
Having been out in Dublin this year as well, the Steelers ingraining themselves in the UK and Irish culture, and now Charlie Batch, the former Steelers quarterback, joins us on Radio Row. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Yeah, man, I cannot complain by any stretch of the imagination. We're having a fun week so far. Busy, busy, busy. It feels like really manic for like Wednesday of Radio Row. Like the great and the good are already out, and you've been out here working. What have you been doing? What's the vibe been?
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised today too. Obviously, we're sitting here on a Wednesday. This feels like more of a Thursday feeling with so many people here. But obviously, it's always good to be back on Media Row, and what's wrong? I look at this as a reunion. You see so many people that you haven't seen in over a year, even though you may talk to them, follow them on social media. So it's always a good thing to be a part of, and obviously get a chance to talk to good people like yourself, and being able to kind of share some of the good things that we have going on.
Look, let's talk Steelers, and let's talk Mike Tomlin, a guy that you obviously know incredibly well. What do you make of the decision to at this point, after so many years, after so much success, to make the change?
Yeah, I just thought, for me, I was shocked at the timing of it, because obviously you just lose the game less than 24 hours. He announces his resignation. So these are things that is different. It will be different around Pittsburgh this entire offseason, because change is not something that happens all the time, especially at the head coach position. So this is going to be something that we all learn. Obviously, everything that Mike Tomlin has done, and people respect that. It's been a great thing, and he's as he works his way to the Hall of Fame, I don't expect to see him coaching again. And now his Hall of Fame clock is probably going to be ticking as we talk at this particular point. But I'm excited about the Mike McCarthy hire and what he's looking to bring to Pittsburgh.
What does Mike McCarthy bring to Pittsburgh for you?
Well, I think it brings instant credibility going from one proven coach to another. And then ultimately you have the system that he's going to run. He likes to throw the ball around. He has a track record for being able to score points, and that's something that this Pittsburgh team needs.
Do you understand why some fans, although they love the hire from him being a local guy, a guy who's had a lot of success, a guy who's clearly very passionate about the team, do you understand why some fans have balked at the fact that they thought they were going to go a bit like the Steelers did with Mike Tomlin, in a new direction, find something like young, new, unexpected, try and change things up, and some fans have seen it as harsh to say just a retread, but like kind of swapping a like for like almost.
That's possible, but in one sense I can understand what they're talking about, and I'll say that because you're not getting a coach that you know is going to be here 15, 20 years. But if he's able to produce and bring a Super Bowl, maybe their opinions shift on what the original hire looked like. But for me, I get excited because Mike McCarthy sparked this offense, and then obviously being able to set up whoever that franchise quarterback is going to be. We don't know if Aaron Rodgers is going to come back. We don't know. And if he does, ultimately he's going to help Will Howard in learning this system and then being able to now pass it off to him. And hopefully he's the quarterback of the future for the next 10 years.
Do you think that, I mean, I know Aaron is one of the people who makes that decision, but do you think that they will move on from Aaron this offseason? Do you think that, you mentioned Will Howard there, and Mike McCarthy's talked about being excited about Will Howard. That certainly seems to be the noise coming out. But if Rodgers turns around and wants to play again and wants to play in black and gold, would you see him coming back, and would you support it?
Yeah, I can see him coming back, and yes, I do support it. And I say that only because we don't know when we want to hand the reins over to Will Howard. We have to remember he got hurt at the wrong time, right before the preseason game started, so you don't have an evaluation process with him in game action. And then when he did return, it was only for 2 months of the season, and he was only on a scout team running the other team's plays. So there is now he's behind the 8 ball a little bit from a learning curve perspective. You add Aaron Rodgers in here. He's been in this system for 18 years. And what better way for Will Howard to learn from a 4-time MVP in that offense? So it's going to be a vastly different offense from what we saw during Arthur Smith to now Mike McCarthy. And because he's 2 steps ahead, now you can give Will Howard those reps because Aaron understands that. The only caveat to this, and this is going to be the thing that will be the ultimate determining factor, will be the money. And the money that he played for last year, I don't expect him to play for this year because he proved that, number one, he could still play, and number two, hey, he deserves a pay raise. But what does that look like on a 1-year deal before you're now able to pass it on to Will Howard? So I think all of those conversations will continue to take place. Right now it's just too early, only because we just finished the season 3 weeks ago. He's probably still banged up, hurt, and when you get to that point, you're not immediately thinking about what next year looks like.
It's interesting because you talked about that Arthur Smith offense, and what was very noticeable, we saw, obviously, the Steelers, as we say, in Dublin, and we saw this year, quickest time to throw in the league, getting the ball out quickly, not allowing kind of the fact that Aaron is the age he is, and that affects how he can be mobile in the pocket to affect the play, lots of yards after catch, etc. But at the same time, it felt like maybe Rodgers' best season for the last 3 or 4. Is that fair to say? What did you make of his performance this year?
I thought that he took the offense to where it ultimately peaked out at, because you still need a lot of help, and we needed a lot of help at the wide receiver position, which he didn't get. And this is why for 2 years we've been talking about whether or not that we were going to bring on a number 2 receiver. And that conversation will continue this offseason, because we don't know if they're going to retain Calvin Austin, or is Mike McCarthy going to look to people who he was familiar with, or what they're going to draft this year. We don't know if Roman Wilson is going to get out the doghouse and ultimately with the new regime. So, again, those are 2 questions that you have. You saw the retirement of Adam Thielen, but, again, you still need to put people into that particular room. So this is a conversation that I think both sides will look at and say, okay, what are the pieces? Yes, defensively, we can tweak that, get that better, but what are the pieces that you're adding to a young offense that's going to help Aaron and equip him with the tools that he necessary to be able to continue to make plays down the field? So it's a long way of saying that's why I am in favor of Aaron Rodgers coming back, because of his ability. And it felt like, in looking at him on an everyday basis, that his arm got stronger as the year went on.
And Mike McCarthy is famously, what he does is develop quarterbacks. That's what he is sold on as being the reason you come in. So if you get to learn behind it, Will Howard is the answer, and he gets to sit and learn behind Aaron Rodgers and under the tutelage of Mike McCarthy. The theory behind it is strong.
Right.
We obviously need to see how it comes out in practice. And sorry, go on.
Yeah, and I was going to say, and the one thing that this compares me to whenever Tampa Bay had Tony Dungy. And they felt like, okay, maybe his voice was getting a little stale, but he had a team that John Gruden inherited. He added a little twist to the offensive side, and what happened? They won the Super Bowl. Hopefully that happens here in Pittsburgh, so that's why I get excited about the addition of Mike McCarthy.
There's our headline, guys. Charlie Batch says that Mike McCarthy's going to win a Super Bowl a la Gruden.
I hope so.
It would be
I'm
incredible.
not saying it happens next year,
yeah.
but all I'm saying is he has the tools, hopefully just equipped him by filling in those gaps that he needs, and maybe are down here within the next couple seasons.
Playing for that storied franchise, that wonderful city, those amazing fans, what is the pressure like for a quarterback in that environment?
Yeah, it's tough. Obviously, I was a backup as we were playing, but you still have to prepare if you're the starter.
Yeah, of course.
And ultimately,
you're one play away from being out there and starting for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Absolutely, and these are things that obviously the bye week is critical, right? You want to make sure you have all the travel accommodations all taken care of before you show up on Wednesday. And then when you show up on Wednesday, that's when 90% of the game plan is already going in, so you get your work done. And then when you get here, you can't act like you're not at the Super Bowl. Be top of the week, you have your press conference, you get a chance to enjoy it on a Monday night, Tuesday, and then once you get to work, understanding that the focus is at hand, because if you win, you can celebrate for 6 months. If you lose, now this loss is going to sting, and you have to live with the decision that you made in preparation this week. So this is important to make sure that you are equipped mentally to understand your game plan, your assignment, because it's not just 20 million people watching for the game. This is hundreds of millions of people that are watching for this game, and ultimately you want to put on your best performance.
What do you make of the quarterbacks in this weekend game? I particularly want to ask about Sam Darnold first and foremost. What a story. If he wins it, he'll be the first quarterback to have started for 5 teams and won a Super Bowl as a starter. That's just an incredible arc to go from where he was to where he is now.
It is, and that's why I root for a guy like that, because when you look at everything that he's been through, that means he was able to respond that way. But ultimately, when you look on as he navigated that journey, that's why the importance of coaching matter. Getting into the right system. Yes, in college you work your tail off to be drafted as high as you can, but ultimately you're going to the worst team if that is the case. And then they give up on you. You kind of bounce around, and then you get labeled this bust when you're a first-round pick. And getting him to San Francisco, him in that system, Minnesota. Yes, we remember that playoff game, but not many people were willing to go into a bidding war for Sam Darnold last year. He lands up in Seattle. He's about $33 million average per year, and now he has him in the Super Bowl year 1. And if they win it, guess what? That means the next 2 years you have him locked in at a number. Yes, he'll want a pay raise. I'm sure they'll probably agree to something, but they don't have to if they don't want to. And these are things that now you can add the pieces around Seattle that now, hey, maybe you take a little bit more, but not as much, because now if you have one Super Bowl, The second Super Bowl is even better. So there's not many people who have multiple Super Bowl winning quarterbacks.
And look, I'm not a guy who I would ever begrudge a man going and getting the bag. Like, I think it is, whenever people talk about like a decision that's made, like Myles Garrett, for example, this past off season, taking that huge sum, I'm like, it's a short career. You only get one or two of those big contracts. If somebody is offering me $40 million a year to do the job that I love doing, I'm probably going to take it.
Absolutely.
But I do feel like in someone like Sam, he is that building, that appreciation that he's had over those years, the backing up in San Francisco, the knockdown after the playoff game in Minnesota. You feel like he's the kind of guy when you speak to him that, like, he have that team first mentality. He'll care most about winning. He's like, yeah, I mean, there's obviously a huge difference between $30 and $35 million, but if you're talking about signing two more players and taking the same contract you've already got, I don't know. I'm projecting it, but I feel like he's a guy who would have that mentality, hopefully.
Yeah, he would, and I think, you have people that explain it to you, because now if you put the pieces together and run multiple Super Bowls, you can now come to Super Bowl week every year for the rest of your life and be able to be compensated for that. So these are things that you see on the back end of it. But for me, when you look at where Sam Darnold is at and all of the resilience that he had to go through, this makes it even better to kind of continue to follow. That's why I get excited to watch and follow him, and hopefully he has that opportunity to hoist that Lombardi Trophy at the end of Sunday night.
But also, what do you make of Drake May? Because I loved Drake May coming out. I totally understand that Caleb was the more toolsy guy and had the success and has proved to be brilliant this year. But I loved Drake May coming out, and yet for him to do what he's done in these first 2 years absolutely still blows my mind. Like, he is just built and built and built.
Absolutely. And again, it goes in, at a conversation where you work your tail off, get drafted as high as you can, which you did, and coaching matters. Okay, the right coaching system, coaches in the system didn't fit him last year, but ultimately you bring Mike Vrabel in here, and now he, gives that breath of fresh air for Drake May. You hire Josh McDaniel, now you're building him up from the neck up and saying, hey, here's what we're looking to do. Team first, and now look where he's at, and he has that opportunity as a young guy in his career. Very similar to Ben Roethlisberger. You win that Super Bowl at a young age, man, now expectations are set higher, but hey, you're a Super Bowl winning quarterback. The team believes in you, and you've delivered on the big stage. So it's going to be important for him to be able to go out there and deliver in this manner, and I'm excited to watch him.
Charlie, we love having you on so much. You're always so good. And I hope for your sake the Steelers do well this year. I hope maybe you're back in Dublin next year if the game does go back to Ireland after this season, because it was so much fun with the Pittsburgh family coming into town and all the links with the Rooneys and everything. So we'd love to see you there again. We'd love to see you here every year, and we really appreciate your time.
I appreciate you. Thanks for having me.